In this episode of Ororua, James connects with Elizabeth Gray, no Ngāti Tūwharetoa, no Ngāti Rehia, Uepōhatu and Tamaūpoko, as they explore her Taonga Pūoro practice and reminisce on the teachings of her Kaiako, the late Rangiiria Hadley. Focusing on spreading the concept of Taonga Pūoro, hei Rongoā, Libby is passionate about sharing her many skills with our people and guiding wahine through hapūtanga for a holistic approach to well-being during pregnancy. Nō reira, e te iwi, tēnā are taringa mai.
Nau mai kia hau manu
Whakarongora I hine rau ka tauri. Te ahurewa I te pūkenga ki te wānanga ki taura ki te tauira. I te punga pūnga ue o ngā rito ngā taki I te ororo I te ororo. Te ororo a I o matua ororo nui ororo roa. Ororo ki rangi nui e tunei ki papatua nuku e tākoto nei. Te oro te pūtore no e pū wawau ana ko te pū a te hui e pua maina. He rea ki a tāne nui a rangi. Te kārango o te manu e whio nei, ko te ngere o te nguru e ngunguru mai nei. Ke te ana te kākakuku ana te kereru titi ana te tīrairaka. Tī aho aki ana I te ata hāpara, māwhiti maira, ko tamanui tērā, kia uhi, wero, tau mai te oro mauri, ui e, taiki e. Kia ora koutou, kia ora koe Libby, kei konei tātou, mo tēnei te podcast me ki, ko te ororua, ki te noho nei, te taha Libby Gray, e me ake ki a koe e hoa, e pai tatu mai nei, ka kōrero taua, e pāna, e tō haeringa, tō mōheotanga, e ki tēnei te ao Taonga Pūoro, so koe nei e mihi ake ki a koe, nau mai, hara mai, tau mai, mo tēnei o nā kaupapa ka nui a tātou. So, pass it over to you, my friend.
Bye.
Tell us a bit about yourself, and a bit about your background, and in Taonga Pūoro. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe kei te tingane. Mou I tuwhera I tēnei kaupapa I te rangi nei. Ko a hau, heuri a hau, heuri tēnei no Ngāti Rehia, ki te whānota. Ngāti Uepōhatu ki te tairawhiti, Tamaūpoko ki te awa tipua, Ngāti Tūwharetoa anō hoki. E tipua ki au I kahungunu, kei te taki wā o Waikato Maniapoto a hei mō ngā tau, te kauma ono, kua hipa, e rua aku tamariki, ko te puna I te arehua, te ngahuru kurawhati aku kua mana o ai Stuart, te mātāmua, ko pūroa, te huinga o ngā waimatua, ahu ura ari I te to'o ao te rā Stuart.
Uhui!
Taku Gil, taku kōpūroa, taku pōtiki. Ko Elizabeth Jean Gray.
Ka pai.
Oi.
Yeah, pēra kia James Thornton Webster.
Oh, ai. Māori ake nei. Nei ingoa.
Right. Maybe you could give us a bit of your background. I know you're involved in hapūtanga, wānanga, and you've been, at the Waikato University for many a year. Studied under Rangiiria Hadley, and you've had quite a big life in Taonga Pūoro, from what I understand. So give us a bit of a background on how you've come to be who you are now?
I know. It's really different being on this end of the mic, of the table, actually trying to whakakupu my ara or my journey in Taonga Pūoro. It started off down the river, down the Wanganui River, Tirahoe Waka. My whānau would play Taonga Pūoro down the river. And at the time, my brother and I would have been all of, I would say 4 or 5. And we were in the backyard at home in Napier, digging away and dug up a shell. The shell was huge. We all know in Aotearoa our shells don't grow very big, but this one is a big one. This would have been 30-something years ago, showing my age. But at the time, I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of kōrero around recovery or looking after our Taonga Pūoro. And so my mum did what she thought was best and dunked it in granola for several weeks, cleaned it up with a toothbrush. My dad knocked the end off and fashioned a mouthpiece with pati that he had. And with that came my very first Taonga Pūoro. And it is the pūtara or the taratara shell, pūtātara. And we used to just jam it, just go out the front and brr, brr, and that's all. We didn't know any other kōrero. And so Ngāwai was decided that I would go to university. And I quickly went through my degree, University of Waikato, wasn't ready to go out into the big world. So I stayed back and did all of the cool papers that were on offer at Te Whare Wānanga at the time, which were my creative side, Taonga Pūoro, raranga, and kapahaka. And so I did that. It's where I met Rangiiria Hadley, who was the Kaiako at the time, who had taken over from Hirini, Melbourne. And I realised she was from Tūwharetoa and I was from Tūwharetoa. She took me home and she taught me about my whenua from my Tūwharetoa side. So naturally we had this hononga, and Taonga Pūoro was my hononga also. And I was drawn to Taonga Pūoro because I didn't realise, I guess in my journey, that there was more than rangi and papai and the tamariki, the normals that we grew up with, the tānes, the ruaumoko, the rongoā, etc., the awhiri. So I started Taonga Pūoro because of the whakapapa of Taonga Pūoro. And even the kōrero about atua, well, we know that our atua are neither wahine nor tāne, but our atua that were more female. Pēnei ia hine rau katauri, hine rau te wharau, hine ti katakata, hine ti iwa, I didn't even know about. So that kind of started my journey, and that's what grew the passion. I was never a very good player of the instruments, but I loved the whakapapa and the kōrero that went with our instruments. And so a part of the classes that Rangiiria taught, we got a shell of a kōauau, got all the kōrero before we even got the shell. Weren't allowed to touch any instrument until we knew the whakapapa of those instruments. Cool. And before I was allowed my kōwenewene, my holes in the kōauau, I had to be able to play a reo. And so that took a while. Took a while because I liked the blats, the loud pū, because I'd been practicing on our pūtātara for how long. By the time I got to university, it was in me. And so playing our ngāwari, our reo ngāwari, our reo wahine, our reo pepe was a bit of a struggle. But yeah, practiced and eventually I could hoot. From that, Rangiiria taught us about the levels of sound. Our first level being you and I talking. Our second level possibly be aircon that you would hear in a whare. The third level of sound could be the traffic that you can hear outside of the whare. And the fourth level of sound, which is our most important and which I feel gets us in the feels, is the reo te taiao, or the sound that we can't hear. Pēnei te rere o ngā ao kapu ai te rangi. Te ruku o te manu ki runga i te wai, ki roto i te wai. Te au o te moana. And so I have kind of spent my life since 2005 trying to crack that, the fourth level of sound.
During your time with Rangiiria?
I feel like it stemmed from being under the korowai of Rangiiria, and it grew from te matenga o Rangiiria. So she's been gone 12 years now, 11, 12. And yeah, when she passed, there were all of these tohu, and there are still tohu today, reminders that she is definitely a part of my intimate connection with Te Ao Wairua. Earlier days, I would miss her, and then I would look out and see a gentle breeze hitting a rākau and the different movements that rākau made. And there was a dream I had had not long, a couple of days before she passed, and we had organised. I said, can you, because we knew she was passing, she knew she was passing. I said, can you pass away when I'm still in Aotearoa or when I come back? She'd laugh away. And, oh, right then. Be on your watch. And so the dream that I had was that I was in Hawaii and I came back to this pile of dirt. So she had passed while I was in Hawaii, but in my dream. And this pile of dirt I was crying to. And then she goes, what you crying to that piece of dirt for, in my dream? And I turned around and I looked at her, I was like, huh? And she was dressed in her Crocs and her garden clothes, just at home clothes. She goes, what you crying to that piece of dirt for? Then I turned around and I pulled my eyes out to her. I was like, I'm sorry, I missed it. I missed everything. And this was in my dream before she had passed. And she said, I'm not in that pile of dirt. I am the warmth of the sun. I am the glistening on the ocean. I am the wind and the breeze, so she was talking about the taiao. And I, kind of snapped out of it in my dream. But when I woke up, I knew she was close as she had passed away the next day. And so for me to go to Hawaii, I was going to Auntie Noi, a close friend of Rangiiria and the whānau, Noi. And we went there and we had a tangi because she couldn't make it back. But my point, I guess, in saying this is that very early on I learnt how to communicate with the taiao because of the early teachings of Rangiiria. So I guess from that day on I've been trying to crack the fourth level of sound. And there are accents of that when we are noa, when we are tau, and when we are hono with the pūoro. And it's when the listener is, ooh, that's yummy, or, that's beautiful, or they can really feel it. I'm like, yep, there we go, cracked it.
Cracked it. It's amazing the memories have of our mentors, like people that have taught us and shared personal insights into their life or their thoughts. People like Rangiiria and, one of my mentors is Paki Harrison, doing whakairo and all of the gems he's dropped over, over his time and stuff. So whenever I'm doing some whakairo on my Taonga Pūoro and that, you get waves of conversations, that are prevalent in there, that shape and mould who we are and how we grow in life. And Taonga Pūoro, like yourself, has really helped me develop and grow, mātauranga wise and connection-wise to Te Taiao, being a kid that was brought up in, the suburbs. So I sort of understand too that you are involved in hapūtanga wānanga and use your Taonga Pūoro heaps in there. Could you sort of share with us maybe how, from what you've talked about, how your transition or how you flowed and moved into that sort of arena?
Yeah. Well, I was a practitioner myself of Taonga Pūoro hei Rongoā i te wā o te hapūtanga. We had an unexpected outcome when we found out our son had a heart condition. We were 22 weeks pregnant. And the preparation we needed to have, not only for our unborn son, but for us as a whānau, as a hāpori, as a hapu and an iwi, to be able to bring this boy into this aisle, hitting the ground running. And so when we found out about his heart condition, we brought on all of our taonga tuku iho, our rongoā, our karakia mo tea, miri, kōrero, Taonga Pūoro. And so throughout my pregnancy, I did play specific Taonga Pūoro to whakanoa and whakatau and whakarite. In particular, the reassurance for me, because often at times we are living in the future anxieties, which was me, hapu. Oh my gosh, my baby's going to come out, only have 5 minutes of skin on skin, then go off and be hooked up. Have his first open heart surgery at 4 days of life, second open heart surgery at 4 months old, and his third open heart surgery just before he turned 4. So a big journey that I guess was created for him before he was even in this world. And so a part of me, well, we all know that ki te pai, ki te noa, ki te taua māma, kua pai, kua noa, kua tau a pēpi. O tira te whānau. And so a part of that was I need to make myself tau physically, mentally, spiritually, all of the lees. And Taonga Pūoro helped me get there quick. It helped me because when I did get hapu, that was 6 years post losing Rangiiria, and she was one of my rocks. She was my go-to for anything Māori, tikanga, wairua. And so I sought solace. Yeah, lots of questions I asked Rangiiria in that time, and I used the Taonga Pūoro to do that. The pōngaihu that I have today is the pōngaihu her and I made for my dad's birthday. Just a little side note. And then when she passed away, I took back and I've had it ever since. But it's my main, I think about the Taonga Pūoro and the pōngaihu and the purity of the ha from our ihu. And the kōrero that was given to me in Tahiti over there was that the pōngaihu is the purest Taonga Pūoro, because we can talk smack out of our mouths, but we can't talk smack out of our noses. And so that Taonga Pūoro pōngaihu was my main, where I played to her, but also to our kōpū pepe. And so being a practitioner, a Taonga Pūoro hei Rongoā i te wā o te hapūtanga practitioner, decided I was doing my studies for a master's in Taonga Pūoro, didn't know what it was going to be. At that time, earlier on, Rangiiria and I were going to do a master's together, and we didn't quite make it. So, I decided to pursue that mahi, and then brought on my mate, who is a midwife. Like, let's do our master's, let's just whai mā tauranga anō. And so she jumped on the waka too, and at that time she was running Hapu Wānanga and said, hey, you should share your story. Share your story with our wahine hapu who might be feeling like they're living too far in the future, anxieties, or living too far in the past and stresses. And so we put a little formula together and I was initially going in while I was working at the university, but going in on my lunch breaks and delivering these presentations to the wahine hapu. And then I decided a year ago now to wehe from Te Wharewananga o Waikato. I feel like I had a different ara, and anei te ara, te ara Taonga Pūoro. And so working full-time now with hapu wānanga ki Tainui, reclaiming mātauranga Māori through wānanga.
Awesome. That sounds awesome. There's no greater way to share stories than from personal experience, eh?
Ana.
I remember having a chat with an acquaintance one time, and this person was teaching business at a Polytech business school, and had to talk about what he was doing and all that sort of stuff. And I asked him, I says, have you ever run a, and he's a young fellow, have you ever run a business yourself? And he's like, oh, nah, I've never. He had never run his own business, you know, so teaching people about something you've never done is sort of, you know.
Ana. E ngā piki me ngā heke.
Yeah, that's right. So sharing from personal experiences is the greatest teaching, I think.
Ana.
Yeah, and for yourself too, I think, you know, because you live with these Taonga Pūoro, you have all this kōrero, and it's not until you're faced with sort of like a crisis or an issue that the Taonga really show their true magic, you know, their true rongoā, if you believe in them as well, you know. So thanks for sharing that story. So in terms of, you know, what you're doing with Taonga Pūoro, because I know that you're starting to travel quite a bit with your mahi too. So, yeah, as a sort of extension or growth of, you know, your commitment to Taonga Pūoro. Can you tell us a little bit about how that sort of works for you, especially having kids and, you know, because I know myself, you know, as a father and a family and travel quite a bit, you know, juggling life and family is always an issue, sort of an issue, or, you know, something that you navigate through.
Yeah. Very early on, I learned about having one foot in the door and one foot out. And when you have one foot in the door and one foot out, you're just coasting on things. And so in order to fully commit, you want to have 2 feet in the door, or fully commit 2 feet out of the door. My decision to leave the University of Waikato meant that I was 2 feet out of that door and 2 feet in the Taonga Pūoro space. And it was there where all of the opportunity opened. It wasn't until I left the Wharewananga o Waikato that I learnt that there was mahi in the hapuana ki Tainui space. And so from that stemmed all of this other mahi and requests for workshops and presentations to share Taonga Pūoro hei Rongoā first, and then I ventured into the different parts of my experiences and knowledges. And so being able to say go down to Bluff for a week and work with the whānau there to capture their taiao, their real taiao, or to recently go to Vancouver and assist in an Indigenous conference and using Taonga Pūoro to whakaniko our kōrero tuku iho. Yes, you definitely need a puna tautoko, a strong puna tautoko that you can rely on, that you know your pāharakeke is still full-on growing mode at home. And, you know, I have a beautiful puna tautoko that I have wrapped around me, a beautiful korowai that enables me to do the things that I do. Yeah, and e kore miti taku puna mihi ki a rātou katoa. I didn't think about the pull that I was getting from different parts of the ao and my ao until I sat back and I had to write what I'd been doing i te ao Taonga Pūoro, and I was going, far out, this is pretty cool. One, it's really cool to know your reo, these days. It's really cool to, just with COVID, etc., it's really cool to know Rongoā, and it's really cool to be Māori. And so all of this together has opened the doors, you know, with exhibitions with the likes of Māgiol and Leilani Kake, being with you and Tungane Jerome and Mahiatua Spaces, podcasts like this and others. I'm humbled to learn that people want to hear my whakaro. Yeah, and that when I do say something, people like the kōrero. A little bit early on, people are like, oh, you're a Taonga Pūoro practitioner. I was like, oh, no, I just like to jam. You know? And then now to actually standing in your own truth and being your unapologetic self, I have kai whakatangi pūoro ahau. And I do have some kōrero that I would love to share with you, because I feel like the more our people know, the more, I don't like to say this word, but for lack of a better word, normalised our Taonga Pūoro are in the whare.
Yes, that's right. Having that puna tautoko for sure, you know, when you're travelling, to know that, you know, everything's still good at home and your kids are being nurtured and stuff like that, it's pretty important so you can carry on doing what you do. You get a little bit moki too. You know, there's a lot more practitioners sort of working in Taonga Pūoro now. But for many years, there was only a few of us, you know, so it was like you felt a bit moki as you know, and then other people had day jobs, you know, and then because I'm like full-time artist, you're like, oh, can you come and tautoko this? Oh, no, I've got my day job, bro, I can't come, you know, or whatever. But now, you know, it's good to have a kāhui of mates, you know, that you can share some of this, these experiences with and share kōrero with, so yeah, that's cool as. So in terms of Taonga Pūoro, what is it to you, like specialising in like pūrākau? What's your sort of favourite pūrākau story? Have you got a little gem there that you could share with us?
Oh,
there's so many, I know.
There's so many. I do this on the daily, and so I feel like when you're passionate about something, how do you condense that into a 40-minute podcast or however long this podcast is going to be, right? I think we need to do a series 2 on Libby and James. No, my go-tos probably are that our instruments are forms of communication. You know, we have this whakaro that our Taonga Pūoro are musical instruments, and yes, I guess they are. But they're forms of communication, and we know this through our pūrākau. Pēnei I te kōauau, for example, to hene mai tu tāne kai. We can say that tu tāne kai, or, it depends on where you come from. We'll say this version, we'll use tu tāne kai. We can say that tu tāne kai played his musical instrument of kōauau, but on the flip side, he was putting it out to the ao. Hey, who wants me? And hene moa heard the call, right? She heard the call, she jumped off her rock and she swam to that call. That's the instrument of communication. Pū moto moto, for example, the ability to communicate, to instill, to imprint, to transmit, transfer, all of those cool kupu, tō mātou reo ki te kōpū pepe, ki te ao wairua, our intimate connection with te ao wairua, our ability to communicate, to let our babies know that, hey, when you get into this world, rehua, you are going to have this huge as open heart surgery, but this is your whakapapa, this is where you've come from, and so on. The kūkau, for example, kūkau porotiti. I love the whakapapa of the kūkau because you can have a kūkau that has a whakapapa from Kauwairunga and a kūkau that has a whakapapa from Kauwairaro. Two instruments that are exactly the same but have different whakapapa, so have a different purpose. When we have whakapapa Kauwairunga, tāwhiri and whaitiri, then we have the ability to heal with that whakapapa. But when we are talking about tāne and hinerau, it's more of an instrument we can jam with or play or have as a toy, pēnei te porotiti, etc.
Yeah, for sure. What is your aspirations for Taonga Pūoro, and how can this be strengthened with our people?
Yeah, I think our common whakaaro, and it's getting better now, is that men should be playing instruments and women shouldn't. It's way better nowadays because there are more practitioners of the art. One of my aspirations is that we have a kāhui of wahine that we can lean on and have kōrero from and kōrero to, a puna tautoko of kāhui wahine, so that our stories, our kōrero, can be retold from a wahine point of view. My other aspiration, and probably is the one that I'm most involved with in the now, is to normalise the mahi pūoro in our tamariki. And I'm currently creating a book with our Haumanu collective, a kids book, of the whakapapa of sound, actually. The levels of whakapapa of sound with hinerau katauri. And in the hope that when our kids are read to, they know the whakapapa, they know the kōrero, because Taonga Pūoro is in their everyday lives, and it's probably the same with your tamariki also. My girl would pick up the pongaihu and have a hoot, and she's 2. She'll also pick up a pear and hoot the pear because it looks very similar in shape. And the hue, we grow hue, and they are intimately connected with the whakatipu hue and not quite the cleaning of the hue, but the helping of the hue to grow. So we'll go out in the afternoons and kōrero to the tipu. My 2-year-old is learning karanga at the moment, so she will, tēnā koe, hine pute hue, tēnā koe, just little short karanga, kōrero. And our son is learning hine pute hue whakapapa at the moment. So I'm doing my part, more so in the second aspiration. I feel like being an open vessel and being available and accessible to our people helps me tick that first aspirations box. Kia noho tangata whenua Taonga Pūoro, te ao Taonga Pūoro ki roto ki tēnā o tātou.
There is quite a growing kahui of wahine that are doing Taonga Pūoro. Sort of amazing stuff out there on the motu. Ruby Solly and Mariana Takao and myself.
Kahurere moa.
Kahurere moa.
Beautiful practitioners. Hei tāpiri ake ki ana kōrero, it's about accessibility. And like you said before, sometimes we have a full-time mahi that pays the bills, but this passion is still really full flow. But we can't do this because the practicalities of this dominant stream life doesn't allow us to. And so I have a real big mihi to my current mahi because I am living and breathing Taonga Pūoro, hei Rongoā, within my full-time mahi. So I'm able to do that. I have access to Monday to Friday ability to hono with Taonga Pūoro. And it's a part of my everyday conversation. Naturally, working with in hospitals because the hapu wānangas with te whatuora, and a part of the mahi, we go in and we look after. We are a puna tautoko for our mātua and our babies in Niku. And so we run a little puna tautoko session there for the whānau to come in and hang out. But more often than not, I'm in there playing Taonga Pūoro to our babies, bringing the reo of our tūpuna, of our ao wairua, which is a place that they know 100% because they've just come from te ao wairua, right? A way to connect with our pepe, te ao marama, and another way for our whānau to reset, re-energize, reconnect with their pepe. How important it is for us to know where we come from, to know our whakapapa, so that we are intentional about the mahi that we do.
Thanks for coming and sharing that, your insights and your journey to hand. So yeah, just wondering whether there's any final kōrero or tips you'd like to share with people.
I was asked just last week, actually, what is it that you want to do? You know, how can you be a better kaumātua? And how can they assist me in getting to that or reaching my fullest potential, right? And I said, well, I'm actually doing it. I'm doing it. I'm working in tēnei ao hapūtanga. My main passion, I know that I've cracked it in life, goal was to work with the start of life. And most recently, my kōrero has evolved to working with end of life. And they're one and the same. Taonga Pūoro is a vessel to be able to bring life into this world and send life back to te ao wairua. And so I feel like I want to put the question out to ngā hunga whakarongo. E are mai nei, what's your purpose in life? What do you want to do? What do you really want to do? And then what do you really, really want to do? And if it's something, if that is not a part of your ara right now, make tracks to either put 2 feet in that door or split 2 feet out of the door. Yeah, out of the door. Make space, make room for the things that you really want. Reclamation of mātauranga Māori. Kia Māori ake nei tātou, kia noho tangata whenua, tātou o tātou mātauranga Māori ki roto ki ngā uri whakatupu.
Dive into that puna.
Yeah. Yeah, rapua te mea ngaro.
Wash yourself, wash in that puna.
Yes, yeah, live in that puna.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easier said than done. But you've got to be conscious about making those changes. You've got to. It's not always easy track.
But if you want something and you really want it, you will make moves to make it happen. And our ability to create and breathe things into existence is very powerful. And I am living and breathing that very kōrero.
Kia pai. Awesome. Well, I see you have a few instruments here. Just wondering whether you'd like to share a tune with us or something as we go out, as we wind up our session.
Yeah. I brought a few instruments, pongai hukuko, pūtori no, pūmotomoto. Pūmotomoto isn't my usual go-to unless I'm talking and being with wahine hapū. But I've just come back from a wānanga down from where I'm from, Awatipua, where we reconnected with our whenua and we learnt about our taiao. And we have a tuahu on our whenua by the name of Hine Tiwaiwa. And we can see the turu coming out of her. We have a mata, we have everything that Hine Tiwaiwa is in that moment. And so we did a bit of clearing away and whakapaipai iaia, and I sat there and I played the pūmotomoto after I whakatō te whenua o mātou i rāmatu. But the beautiful thing about that moment was I was tripping out because I was like, wow, this is amazing, playing the pūmotomoto within, around and with Hine Tiwaiwa. And how magical and how once in a lifetime that felt. but also the reo that was played. I don't know if I can replicate that today because I'm not there. But there was a reo that I got, an undertone, the real bassy reo, the puku reo from the pū moto moto, and I hadn't heard that from her before. And in conversations with Ngā Huia, on my travels back, Ngā Huia Murphy, she mentioned that, well, you know, pū moto moto, te tara, te ahuru mo waira mo mea katoa, that is the base, that is the reo o te puku, like, but it's from the depths. And so I was like, that's amazing how everything aligns and how everything's meant to be. And so I feel like now that I've talked about that for ages, that I'll probably just have a jam with that one.
Nei rā ka mihi atu ki a koe e wha, i te tatu mai ki a kōrero au kōrero, ngā whakaro i pāna nā te ao Pūoro, karawe te whakarongo ki wenei o nā kōrero ka kōrero ia. E nā mā te atua e mana ki tiaki ana i a tātou, kua tau pai ai, ka tau ai te Māori, tau ai te oro, tau ai te Māori o ngā atua, o ngā tūpuna, mā tātou e hui mai nei i te rangi nei. Ka toa i te Māori ārangi, te Māori āpapa, te Māori ā i o te hotapu e. Ka toa i te Māori o ngā atua, toa i te Māori o ngā tūpuna. Toa i te Māori o te tangata, tau ai, tō ai, tā te Māori e, hui e, tāi ki e.
Ko te piko te mahuri, ko ia te tipu a te rākaui. Heri tā tangata